The first time I heard it after he died, I thought I was losing my mind. It was late October, gray and wet like grief itself. My father had been gone for exactly 12 days. The funeral was a muted thing, like him in his final months, soft-spoken, already half a ghost. I had gone back to work after a week, nodding through the days, answering emails like I wasn't unraveling inside. But grief is strange like that. It waits for silence, for the still moments in between. That's when it comes alive. That morning, I'd left my apartment to walk. Just walk. I couldn't stand the walls anymore, or the half-unpacked boxes I'd brought back from his house, especially that box, the one filled with old cassette tapes and scraps of lyrics written in his hand. Songs that made no sense. Songs that didn't seem to exist outside of him. And the lullaby, God, the lullaby. I could still hear it in my head, faint like the memory of a scent. He'd sung it when I was little, only when I was sick or sad, brushing my hair with those worn, callous fingers that always smelled like engine oil. No one else remembered it. My mother swore he made it up, and when I hummed it to her, she just looked at me like I was asking her to recall a dream she'd never had. I'd even tried searching for it online, typed the melody into those music recognition apps, hummed it for AI. Nothing. Nothing in any database. Like it had never existed outside of his throat. But that day, as I crossed the intersection near 6th and Fremont, something stopped me. A sound. A whisper, really. The same tune. Someone was humming it. I turned my head so fast I heard my neck crack. My heart was already racing. Not because I thought it was him, I wasn't that far gone. But because I knew that melody, and it shouldn't have been in anyone else's mouth. And then I saw him. An old man, standing still on the sidewalk as the world passed around him. He had long silver hair pulled back into a braid, his coat threadbare, layered over a robe or tunic of some kind. Not quite homeless, but not ordinary either. Like he belonged to another time. He looked straight at me. His eyes weren't milky or distant. They were sharp. Knowing. I stepped toward him slowly, like he might vanish. What is that song? I asked, voice catching in my throat. His head tilted bird-like. You know it. Only from my father, I whispered. He sang it when I was a kid. I've never heard it anywhere else. The old man smiled, not warmly, but not unkindly. It's older than him. Older than both of you. Older than time. I felt something cold trickle down my spine. What does that mean? He said nothing. Just stepped forward and pressed something into my hand. A metal key. Heavy, tarnished. No markings. You'll hear it again, he said before walking away. I stood there, stunned, holding the key in my palm like a riddle. And that night I dreamed. It wasn't like a normal dream. I was standing in a corridor, impossibly long and narrow. The walls pulsed with light, soft and golden like candle glow. And from far ahead, so faint I almost missed it, I heard it. The lullaby. The same notes. The same lilt. I followed it. The air shimmered, thick and warm like honey. My feet made no sound as I walked, and the corridor bent impossibly, curving inward then outward, like I was inside something alive. Then I came to a door. Old, wooden, carved with patterns that moved when I blinked. A faint line of gold light bled from underneath. My heart was pounding. I remembered the key. It was in my hand again. When I pushed it into the lock, it turned like it had been waiting. The door creaked open. And I saw. No. I felt it more than saw it. Like 1,000 memories rushing into me all at once. A landscape that wasn't a place, not exactly. A world suspended in song. Towers made of sound, fields of light that hummed. My father's voice, young, laughing, carried on the wind. Then I woke up, gasping. The key was still in my hand. I didn't tell anyone. Who could I tell? My friends would say I was dreaming, processing grief. Maybe they'd be right. But the key was real. I kept it in my coat pocket, fingering it like a talisman when I was anxious. And the dreams came again. Each night, I returned to that place, walking deeper into the golden corridors, unlocking new doors. Each one opened into something stranger, more beautiful. And always, the song led me forward. Not just my father's voice anymore. Others joined in. A chorus of the dead, maybe? Or the unborn. I started collecting the dreams in a journal. Sketching the doors, writing down every fragment of lyric I could remember. Some mornings, I woke with the taste of something old in my mouth, like honey and ash. And once, when I passed by a piano in the train station, my fingers moved before I could think. I played the melody, perfectly. People stopped to listen. One woman wept. I asked if she recognized the tune. She just shook her head. No, she said. But it feels like something I lost a long time ago. Weeks passed. Then a month. The old man never reappeared. But the dreams grew stronger. I stopped needing the key to fall asleep. The doors opened for me now, willingly. The place beyond them was changing too, growing clearer. More detailed. One night, I walked through a door into a memory. Not mine. My father's. He was young, maybe 19. Sitting on a stone bench, holding a notebook. He looked up and saw me. And for a second, I swear he knew me. His eyes filled. You found it, he said. I tried to speak, but the dream shattered. I woke sobbing. I went back to the box of tapes. The old cassettes. I dug through them, hands shaking, until I found one marked only with a symbol. Not a word, not letters. The same symbol that had been on one of the dream doors. I played it. Static. Then the lullaby. Not just sung, layered. Dozens of voices, woven together. And underneath it, almost imperceptible, words. When the key remembers, the door becomes the way. I rewound it. Listened again. When the key remembers. What the hell did that mean? I couldn't ignore it anymore. Whatever this was, it was more than dreams. More than grief. I started researching symbols, languages, ancient musical notations. Dead cultures, secret societies, myths of songs that could shape reality. And I started to find things. Slivers. Whispers in old texts. A melody that supposedly echoed from the first breath of the world. A song that could unlock what was lost. One phrase stood out, etched into the margin of a 15th century manuscript. There are songs that remember us when we forget ourselves. And I began to wonder. Had my father been waiting for me to find this? Had he sung the song not to comfort me, but to wake me? Some memories don't belong to us. That was the first sentence I wrote in my journal after the second week of dreams. It came to me like a truth that had always been waiting for language. A truth hidden beneath skin and sleep and song. And by then, I knew this wasn't just about my father anymore. On the 13th night, I opened a door into a forest made of silence. That's the only way I can describe it. There were trees, tall and silver-barked, their leaves glimmering like glass, but no wind. No birds. No sound at all, except the distant hum of the lullaby, echoing from somewhere far beyond the trees. I stepped forward, and the earth beneath my feet gave slightly, like memory made solid. Every step awakened images, flickers in the corners of my eyes. A child hiding in roots. A woman weeping into her hands beneath a branch that bent low like it was listening. None of them were me, but I felt them in my bones. This place remembered. And when I looked up through the canopy, I saw stars arranged in the same pattern as a necklace my father used to wear. A simple leather string with 6 small metal beads. I never thought it meant anything. But in the dream, the constellation glowed like a sigil. He left me this path. That's what I kept hearing. Over and over, as I followed the humming through the forest. When I reached the center, I found another door. This one wasn't wood. It was made of light, woven from threads of gold and shadow, gently pulsating. It had no keyhole. Just a symbol. The same one from the cassette tape. The same one that's been haunting my dreams. I reached out. The door opened without touch. And I fell forward. When I woke up, my apartment was full of sound. The lullaby. Not from my mind. It was playing, soft but real, from the kitchen. I bolted upright and ran. The cassette deck was open. No tape. But the song was playing from inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the drywall, heart hammering. The melody vibrated like an echo moving through old bones. I could barely breathe. I ran my hands over the wall. Nothing. No source. No speaker. But I felt something, carved into the paint. I ran to get a flashlight. And when I shined it low across the wall at an angle, I saw it. A symbol, faintly etched beneath layers of paint. The same one. Again. This wasn't just my grief projecting. This was everywhere. That afternoon, I returned to my father's house. It was empty now. The furniture gone. I hadn't been back since the funeral. The air inside smelled like dust and lemon oil. Familiar. Haunting. I went straight to the attic. Something had been gnawing at me. A memory I couldn't quite pin down. The way he used to disappear for hours up here when I was young. He'd tell me he was sorting sounds, which made no sense, but I never questioned it. Until now. The attic door creaked. The air was dry and cold, and dust motes swam in shafts of light from the single window. There were boxes, of course. Dozens. Most of them marked in my father's tight, angular script. But there was one corner of the room that was wrong. Not dusty. The floor there looked freshly disturbed. I dropped to my knees and began clearing the area. Something scratched my hand, a tiny groove in the floorboards. I looked closer. A seam. A hidden compartment. I worked it open with my keys. Inside was a wooden box, dark with age, wrapped in waxed cloth. And when I opened it, I didn't breathe. Inside was a stack of journals. Dozens of them. Dated, catalogued. All filled in my father's hand. Some in English, some in other languages I didn't recognize. Some pages were written in symbols, others in musical notation. And at the very bottom, a photograph of my father. But not just him. He was standing with 6 other people, all dressed in robes that shimmered with that same dreamlike fabric I'd seen behind the door of light. The back of the photo had a word scrawled across it in black ink. Keybearers. I read through as many journals as I could before the sun went down. They weren't diaries. They were maps. Of dreams. Of doors. Of songs that opened memories inside the body. He described the exact same places I'd been walking through in my sleep. The forest of silence. The golden corridor. The echo halls. He described learning the lullaby from a source beyond time. A woman he only ever called the cantor, a being who sang stars into shape. And one line I read made my skin crawl. When she is ready, the melody will find her. It knows its own. She will walk the dream road as I did. Perhaps farther. That night I went deeper. In the dream, I followed the thread of song beyond the door of light. I came to a room carved into the air itself. Floating symbols spiraled across the walls, glowing like fireflies. A dais stood in the center, with a book made of something between parchment and music. As I approached, a voice spoke behind me. Not in my ears. In my blood. You opened the door. I turned. My father stood there. But it wasn't him, not exactly. He was younger. Stronger. Radiant in a way I'd never seen in life. Like a memory made flesh. I tried to leave you the map, he said. But I didn't know if the melody would choose you. What is this? I whispered. What are you? His eyes softened. I'm the echo of who I was. This is what remains of me, my true self, not the man the world knew. I felt the tears before I knew I was crying. You left me, I said. I had to, he replied, voice trembling. If I had stayed, they would have found you. The melody would have gone silent forever. Who's they? He looked at the book on the dais. Those who feared the song. Who forgot it. Who tried to bury it. The ones who sealed the dreaming doors. I stepped closer. Why me? Because you listened, he said simply. Because you remembered. The book began to hum. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. He reached out and placed his palm against mine. You will. I woke sobbing again. But this time, not from grief. From awe. From the impossible truth settling inside me. This was no longer a story about a father lost. This was a story about a door remembered. And I was already walking through it. I stopped dreaming for 3 days. Or rather, I dreamed, but I didn't go back. No doors. No golden corridors. No forests of silence or floating books. Just static. Gray walls. Disjointed images that slipped through my fingers like mist. And the worst part was the silence. The lullaby was gone. The song that had haunted me for weeks, that had once lived in every shadow and breath, was gone. I thought I'd lost it. Thought maybe I'd gone too deep too quickly. Maybe I'd violated some unspoken law of the melody. I retraced everything, read my father's journals like scripture, humming the notes to myself until my voice cracked. But nothing brought it back. Then, on the 4th night, I heard something else. It came not in sleep, but in the space just before. That heavy, floating moment when you're halfway under, but still tethered to the waking world. My body was in bed, but I was somewhere else, frozen, limbs unmovable. And from the corner of the dark, just outside the periphery of dream, I heard a voice. Not the lullaby. A different song. Lower. Sharper. It made my teeth ache. I couldn't see the source, but I felt it crawling along the walls of my mind. It scraped rather than sang, dissonant and ancient, like bones dragged over stone. It was still a melody, but it wasn't beautiful. It was hunger in musical form. And then a whisper came, like breath against my ear. You've opened what should have stayed closed. I snapped awake. My heart was racing. My room was dark, but the air was wrong, thicker, heavier. I stumbled to the light switch. And saw the mark. Drawn in ash across my bedroom door, right where I'd seen the dream symbol etched in paint before. But this was different. Crooked. Inverted. The melody symbol, but reversed. A warning. Or a claim. I stayed up all night, flipping through the oldest journal in my father's collection. It wasn't dated. Its pages were yellowed, nearly brittle. Most of it was written in symbols I didn't recognize, glyphs that pulsed like living things. But halfway through, I found something I could read. There are 2 songs. One remembers. One devours. Only the keybearers know both. It hit me like cold water. The thing in the dark, the dissonant melody, was the other song. The one my father had feared. The one the dreaming doors were meant to protect against. The song of forgetting. Later that day, I went to the one place I swore I'd never return to, the facility. My father had spent his last 6 months in a hospice that specialized in neurological decline. They said it was early onset dementia. Said he was fading, slipping into himself. But he never forgot me. And when I played the lullaby, even when he couldn't speak, his eyes lit up. He hummed it through the end. So I went back. Not to visit. To search. I talked my way in under the pretense of collecting final belongings. An orderly recognized me, offered condolences, and led me to a locked closet of patient effects. Among the boxes was one marked only with a treble clef. No name. Inside were pages. Dozens of them. All in my father's hand. All covered in musical notations layered so tightly the ink bled together like a labyrinth. At the center of each page was the same phrase. The dissonance grows louder when a key is born. Born. Not found. Not chosen. Born. That night, I returned to the dreams. But it wasn't the same as before. The corridors were darker now. The gold light dimmed to a deep amber, like a candle about to burn out. The doors trembled when I passed them. And in the distance, beneath the melody I'd grown to love, I heard its twin. The countersong. It followed me like smoke. I moved faster, searching for the chamber with the floating book. But it was gone. The room had shifted. Doors led to staircases that wound downward into spirals of glass and mist. Finally, I came to a room I hadn't seen before. Stone. Cracked. Empty. And standing in the center, a figure. Not my father this time. A woman. Tall. Cloaked in a fabric that shimmered like the edges of memory. Her face was hidden, but her voice cut through me like light. You walk the melody, but not its burden. I don't understand, I said. You think the song is gift alone. It is not. It is a threshold. She lifted her hand, and a note rang through the room, high, crystalline, painful in its purity. For every door you open, another opens somewhere else. Not all dreamers are gentle. I stepped back. Who are you? She lowered her hood. And I saw my own face. But older. Changed. Etched with lines that weren't from age, but from carrying something impossible. I am what you become if you keep going. I woke with blood on my pillow. My nose had bled through the night. The ash symbol on the door was darker now. Almost fresh. I needed answers. Not symbols. Not riddles. I needed someone real. I remembered the old man. The one who'd given me the key in the street. I'd never seen him again, but I knew where he'd been. The intersection on 6th and Fremont. So I went back. Every day for a week. And on the 7th day, he was there. Exactly as before. Same coat. Same braid. Same stillness. But when I approached this time, he was humming both melodies at once. One soft and pure. One sharp and broken. They wove together in his mouth like war. I demanded answers. He didn't look at me. Just said, "You've begun the chorus. It cannot be undone." "What is the chorus?" He looked at me then, and I swear to God his eyes changed. For a moment, they were mirrors. The dreaming realm is not a sanctuary. It is a battleground. And now that you sing, they will come. Who? The forgotten. That night I dreamed again. But this time, they were waiting. Figures at the edge of every dream door. Shrouded. Hollow-eyed. Humming that other melody. The song of erasure. One stepped forward and spoke. She remembers. So she must be unmade. I didn't sleep for 3 nights after they spoke to me. Not because I didn't want to. But because I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, they were there, the forgotten. Their voices slithered through the silence like oil poured on water. No shape. No warmth. Just that ragged, scraping melody clawing at the edges of my mind. It wasn't just in the dreams anymore. It followed me. On the train, a man beside me began humming under his breath, eyes rolled back. A cashier handed me change and whispered, "Unmake her," before blinking like nothing had happened. I was unraveling. Or the world was. I went back to the journals. There had to be more. Some way to stop them. Some deeper truth. Halfway through the 11th volume, I found it. A passage circled in red ink. One I must have overlooked before. To hold the melody is to hold memory, for all of us. The forgotten are not evil. They are what we become when we no longer remember who we were. When grief swallows story. When silence becomes comfort. They crave the song because it is light. And light burns them. I stared at that for a long time. They are what we become. They weren't demons. They were us. Forgotten versions of people who once knew. Maybe even versions of me. The next dream wasn't a dream. It was a warning. I was back in the golden corridor. But this time, the doors were all ajar. Flickering. The light inside them unstable. One by one, they began to hum, not with the lullaby, but with the counter-song. It spread like a disease. The dream world was fracturing. And in the center, on her knees, was the older version of me. Cloak torn. Hands pressed to her ears. Bleeding from her eyes. "You must sing both," she gasped. "That is the only way." I knelt beside her. "What do you mean?" I can't sing the other one. It hurts. It hurts because it's true. Pain is part of remembering. You can't protect the song by hiding from sorrow. I shook my head. But it's corrupting everything. I don't understand. She reached up, gripped my wrist. There is no melody without dissonance. No light without shadow. You must hold both. Or lose everything. She began to hum. Soft at first. The two songs together. And in her voice something clicked. They weren't enemies. They were halves. And the lullaby had always held both. I woke with a sound on my lips. Not the melody I'd known. Not the shrieking counterpoint. Something new. Something whole. I recorded it. My hands were trembling. I sang it into my phone, barely able to hold a note through the tears. When I played it back, I heard my father's voice. Not singing. Speaking. If you've made it this far, it means the song has begun to remember you back. You were never meant to walk it alone. There is another key bearer still dreaming. Find her. She holds the verse I never learned. Her name was in the next journal. Kaya. There was a photograph taped inside the cover. 2 children standing in front of a massive stone arch covered in ivy. My father on the left. A girl about my age now on the right, with dark eyes and a crescent scar across her jaw. Kaya. The back read. Last seen in Brackenridge, 1991. Refused to leave when the doors closed. That was the year I was born. I had never heard the name before. Not from my father. Not from anyone. But somehow I knew her. In my chest, she felt like an unfinished lyric. Brackenridge was a nothing town, a half-forgotten place in upstate New York, 3 hours from where I lived. I took a bus there without telling anyone. No plan. Just the name. The melody in my throat. The photograph in my pocket. When I arrived, the air was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that presses against your ribs. Trees leaned too close to the road. The sun hung low even though it was midday. There was a library. Closed. A diner. Empty. But there was one house on the hill with a light in the window. I walked up the gravel path like I was stepping into the second verse of a song I hadn't yet learned. And when I knocked, I heard her voice before the door even opened. I was wondering when you'd show up. She looked almost exactly like the photo. Just older. Her eyes were the same, sharp and endless. The scar across her jaw a little deeper, her hair streaked with silver. I began. But she nodded. I know who you are. She stepped aside. Come in. Before they find you. Her house was lined with sound. Wind chimes. Old cassette decks. Bells hanging from the ceiling. Bowls filled with tuning forks. Every corner hummed softly, like the house itself was protecting her. She led me to the back room. It was filled with paper. Symbols. Maps of dream doors. Portraits of people with their faces burned away. Names written and crossed out and rewritten again. She sat, lit a candle, and looked at me like she'd already seen this moment. I thought the melody was done with me, she said. I walked the dreaming doors for a decade. Held the light. Sang the verses. But I could never find the chorus. Your father believed I would. But the song chose you. I didn't know what to say. She held up a cassette tape. This has your next step. What's on it? Her expression darkened. The first harmonic. The place where the two songs meet. But once you hear it, the doors will open wider. And the forgotten will come in person. I hesitated. What if I can't hold both songs? She smiled sadly. Then you won't survive. I took the tape. Put it in my pocket. As I left her house, the wind shifted. And in the trees I heard it. The chorus. Faint. Beckoning. Calling me home. I didn't listen to the tape right away. I kept it in my pocket on the ride home, fingering the corners like worry beads, letting the weight of it settle in my chest. Every bump in the road made the case rattle. Every turn felt like I might crack it open by accident. But something in me already knew, once I heard what was inside, everything would change. Again. That night, I turned off every light in my apartment. Sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the old tape player I'd taken from my dad's house. I cleaned the heads with alcohol. Lit a candle. Cleared the air like Kaya had taught me, with sound. Tuning forks. A small bronze bell. I wanted to be ready. But the truth was, I was never going to be. I slid the tape in. Press play. At first, nothing. Then a crackle of static, like deep water boiling. Then, the melody. Not one I recognized. Not the lullaby. Not the song of forgetting. Something between them. Something older. More layered. Like both songs had collided and folded into each other, forming something that either could be on their own. And underneath the melody, voices. Hundreds. Whispering in languages I didn't know but somehow understood. Memories. Stories. Truths. And one voice that rose above the rest, my father's. The chorus is not a song. It is a place. A bridge. Where the songs of remembrance and erasure meet in balance. You must enter it to find the source. The door will open when you play this tape and sleep. But you must not go alone. I replayed that last line again and again. You must not go alone. But who did I have left? I thought of Kaya. But she'd made it clear, her time had passed. So I reached into the dream. Literally. That night, I lay on my back with the tape playing low beside me. I let the melody seep into my skin. And as I drifted, I called out. Not in words. In song. Half-formed, shaky, uncertain, I let the notes rise from me like smoke. I stitched them into the lullaby, then bent them sideways into dissonance. A harmony and its shadow. A cry and an echo. And something answered. I found myself in the forest of silence again. But this time, it was not silent. It sang. The trees resonated. The leaves shimmered in time. The ground pulsed with a beat I could feel in my ribs. The air itself was rhythm. And waiting at the base of the oldest tree. My father. Not the memory of him. Not the dream echo. Him. Solid. Smiling. Wearing the necklace with 6 beads. I couldn't let you walk it alone, he said. My throat locked. I don't understand, I whispered. You're gone. You died. He stepped forward. I left the body. But the melody, it keeps what matters. Tears filled my eyes. This isn't real. He shook his head. It's more than real. This is where songs go when they're too true to live in the world. He took my hand. We walked through the forest until we reached a clearing I had never seen before. In the center stood a gate. Not a door. A gate of glass and bone and light, humming with the melody from the tape. It had no hinges. No locks. It floated just above the ground, turning slowly in place. On either side, carved into the trees, were the 2 symbols. One for remembrance. One for forgetting. Above the gate, a 3rd symbol burned. The chorus. It looked like a circle made of 2 broken crescents, unclosed, but reaching for each other. This is where I stop, he said. What? You said not to go alone? You won't be. Not really. I'm already part of the song now. He placed the necklace into my hand. The beads were warm. You'll know what to do. I couldn't hold it back anymore. You should have told me. All those years. All that time I spent thinking you were just ordinary. He smiled. I was ordinary. Until I remembered. He kissed my forehead. Then stepped back. And the forest faded. I stood alone in front of the gate. I reached into my coat pocket. The tape. Still there. I placed it at the base of the gate. The melody rose like smoke. The cymbals ignited. The gate stopped spinning. And the chorus opened. Inside was nothing like the corridors or forests. It was a sky. Endless. Turning. Painted with shifting constellations that pulsed in time with the song. Chords shaped like clouds. comets leaving trails of harmony behind them. I was standing on something, but it had no texture, no substance. Just resonance. Every step I took rang like a note played on glass. And in the center of that sky space, a figure. Not forgotten. But not entirely whole either. She looked like a woman made of melody and scar. And I knew. This was the cantor. The one who sang the original lullaby. The one my father spoke of. The one who started the song before time had teeth. She spoke, but not aloud. You carried both songs. Few survive this long. Fewer still remain unchanged. I don't want to be unchanged, I said. I want to remember. I want to be the song. She nodded. Then you must give something up. Every chorus has a cost. What cost? You must forget one truth you've always believed, forever. A silence followed. One that hummed with potential. Choose. I couldn't breathe. What kinds of truths? She stepped forward, and her voice entered me. Images filled my head. My mother's face. The night my father left us for the first time. The sound of his engine driving away. The day he came back. The last time he held me. You can keep your sorrow. Or your love. But not both. Not here. Not in the chorus. I fell to my knees. Tears streamed down my face. How do you choose which part of your story to lose? But I knew. Deep down I knew. I kept his love. And gave away the pain. The moment I chose, the chorus surged. The symbols in the sky converged. The melody cracked open. The sky folded in on itself and became sound, pure and infinite. I screamed. Or maybe I sang. And when it was done, I stood on the other side. Changed. Not fully human. Not fully dream. But awake. And the forgotten? They were waiting. But now, I wasn't afraid. Because I carried both songs. Because I could remember and release. Because the lullaby was mine now. I woke with my cheek pressed to the floor. My apartment was still. Quiet. But I was not the same. I felt it in my bones first, a vibration, subtle and steady, as if my blood moved to a rhythm not of this world. The air seemed brighter, the edges of things crisper. My breath echoed, not just in the room, but inside me, like a note waiting to be sung. I had returned. But I had brought the chorus with me. I looked around. Everything was as I'd left it. The candle had long burned out. The cassette player had stopped. But when I reached out and touched the tape, it was warm. And on its surface, etched faintly where there had been nothing before, was a word. Remember. I stood slowly. My legs shook. Then I heard it. The humming. Low. Off-key. Crooked like a cracked mirror. Coming from the hallway outside my apartment. The forgotten had crossed. I moved to the door, slowly, carefully. The melody rose behind it, warped, impatient. Not loud, but pressing, like it was waiting to be let in. I closed my eyes and centered myself. I summoned the chorus, not just in thought, but in sound. A single note. Clear. Whole. It rose from my throat like breath turned sacred. And the humming stopped. I opened the door. At first, there was nothing but darkness. Then it stepped forward. A woman. Or what had once been a woman. Her face was a tangle of features in motion, eyes shifting positions, mouth twisting in and out of silence. Her clothes were layered in tatters, all gray. She didn't walk. She glided, the air behind her unraveling as she moved. I knew her. Not her name. Not her story. But her ache. She was made of loss. Of stories never told. Of songs never sung. She was a forgotten. But not one I could hate. She reached a hand toward me. You remember? She rasped. I nodded. I do. Then help me, she whispered. I stepped forward and took her hand. And sang. Not to defeat. Not to banish. But to reconcile. The melody poured from me, rich and terrible and beautiful. The lullaby woven with the chorus. The light and the dissonance moving together, entwined like breath and heartbeat. And she began to change. The distortion in her face stilled. Her eyes, now steady, welled with tears. "I had a child," she said. I held her hand tighter. "I know." Her form shimmered. And then, she was gone. Not destroyed. Released. She became song. And the air sang with her. That was the first. But not the last. In the weeks that followed, they came. One by one. In alleyways. In subway stations. In empty cafes and hospitals and fields. Some came silently. Others screamed. Some wept without sound. Each one was a story lost too soon. Each one carried a forgotten song inside them. And I sang them home. It became my purpose. To remember them. To carry them. Not to restore what was, but to make sure it wasn't erased. I found others like me. Dreamers who had brushed the chorus but hadn't yet crossed. I helped them. Taught them the balance. The breath. The burden. And the gift. Kaya called one night. Her voice was quiet. "I heard your song in the forest," she said. "I think it's time I remembered again." We met a week later. She stepped into the dream beside me. And I watched as her face lit with music. She smiled. "I'd forgotten how much it hurt," she whispered. I nodded. "It's worth it, though." One evening, I sat at my father's grave. The wind moved gently through the trees. I hummed the lullaby. And for a moment, I heard his voice in harmony. Not in dream. Not in memory. But here. In the world. Like the song had folded time just enough to let him speak again. "You've done well," he said. I closed my eyes. "I miss you. I'm in every note," he said. And then he was gone. I rose from the grass. Walked back into the dusk. The melody followed. No longer a ghost. But a path. Because some songs don't end. They only change singers. The dream doors started appearing in the waking world. Subtle at first. Flickers. A shimmer across a storefront window. A ripple in the air above a man's hospital bed. The wind bending through alleyways, whispering a melody only children seem to hear. Then more. Openings. Some called them hallucinations. Some miracles. But I knew what they were. The chorus had loosened the boundary. And now, both songs were singing at once. I stood at the corner of 5th and Elm, watching as a door flickered beside a mural on the side of a coffee shop. It was glowing faintly, an arch of song pressed into the wall. A man in a suit stopped and stared at it for a long time. Then he blinked, shook his head, and walked on. He didn't see it. But a little girl did. She tugged on her mother's sleeve and whispered, "That's where Grandpa went." Kaya and I met in the hills outside town, where the stars were sharp and the air felt thick with remembering. We sat beside an old fire pit sheet filled with tuning forks and black river stones. She handed me a journal. A new one. "Things are moving faster," she said. "Too fast." "I know. They're crossing over in ways they shouldn't. Not just the forgotten. Others. Old dream things." I didn't speak. I already knew. I'd seen something the night before in my kitchen mirror. Not a person. Not even a memory. Just a hunger shaped like a man. It hadn't attacked. It had just watched. Waiting. "I found something in the cantor's verses," Kaya continued. "A passage. Buried in the harmonic weave of the chorus." She opened the journal and read aloud. "If too many doors stay open, the balance unbinds. To sing forever is to forget silence. One must choose. A sealed song. Or a free one, with all its ghosts." She looked at me. "You have to decide." That night, I returned to the chorus. It welcomed me differently now, not as a student or a seeker, but as something of it. The sky rang in thirds. The cymbals hung lower, waiting for my touch. The gates stood wide open. Inside, the cantor was singing. Her voice rose like a tide. The sky bent to it. The stars wept. She didn't speak at first, just kept singing as I approached, folding every note into itself like a ribbon pulled through time. When she stopped, the silence felt holy. "You've seen what happens when memory runs free," she said. "I have. And you've seen what forgetting protects." I nodded. "What would you have me do?" She stepped forward, her voice softer now. "You are the first to carry both songs and survive. You are the hinge. The dream doors answer you. If you close them, they will stay closed. If you leave them open, then the world must learn to live with the music." I swallowed. "And the cost?" "A sealed chorus means safety. No more forgotten. No more dream things. But no more dreaming either. No more lullabies that open hearts. No more songs that remember you when the world forgets your name. The song will sleep again, perhaps for centuries. If you leave it open, you will never rest. Not truly. You will be memory's sentinel." I wanted to say I needed time. But I already knew. How could I seal it? How could I erase what had brought my father back, even for a moment? How could I silence the song that had reminded strangers who they were? That had turned sorrow into connection? The chorus wasn't dangerous. Forgetting was. I looked at her. "I'll hold it," I said. "I'll carry the song." Her face changed. Not relief. Something deeper. Sorrow and pride at once. Then she said, "Then you must finish it. You must write the final verse." When I woke, my voice was already moving. Words I'd never known came pouring from me, sung in breath and silence. I wrote them on the walls. On the mirrors. On my own skin. The final verse. Not to close. But to complete. When I sang it in the dream world, the chorus pulsed like a heartbeat. The stars arranged themselves. The cantor wept. The doors grew still, not shut, not wild. Just anchored. Held. Balanced. A third song was born. Not memory. Not forgetting. But witnessing. And I would be its singer. Since then, they've still come. The forgotten. The wandering dreamers. The ones who can't quite remember why they cry in their sleep. The ones who hum songs they never learned. And I find them. Or they find me. And I sing. Sometimes just a note. Sometimes the full lullaby. Sometimes I just hum and let them rest their head on my shoulder and remember without needing to speak. The world hasn't ended. But it isn't the same. A child sang the chorus during a school play and 2 parents fainted from remembering things they'd buried decades ago. A man in Brazil began painting dream doors on every building he touched, saying he could see the music in the walls. The song is alive now. And so am I. My father's necklace still hangs by my door. I touch it every time I leave the house. I hum the lullaby before I sleep. Not because I'm afraid. But because it's mine now. It belongs to all of us. A song only he knew. Until now. There's an old lie buried in the bones of every society. That forgetting is mercy. That we're better off not knowing. Not remembering. Not feeling. It's what they told us after the wars. After the plagues. After the betrayals. Let it go. Move on. But grief doesn't disappear. It waits. It calcifies. And when the song returned, so did the grief they had buried. The sleepers came on the first full moon after the final verse. Not in bodies. Not yet. First, they sent dreams like knives. I woke up choking on static, on fragments of names I'd never said aloud. Faces I'd never seen. Places that no longer existed. Visions of stone towers filled with humming silence. Of books written in disappearing ink. Of trial chambers where people were unmade for remembering too much. They had ruled the chorus long ago. Before the cantor. They had sealed it once. Buried it in the collective unconscious. Locked it behind lullabies no one sang anymore. They called themselves the archivists. And now they were waking. Kaya arrived the next day, eyes red, her shoulders hunched like the song itself had gotten heavier. They found my door, she said. Burned the frame. Left a sigil in ash. I asked her if she knew what it meant. She nodded. It means purge. We gathered the others. The ones I'd helped awaken. The painters. The singers. The dreamwalkers and grief keepers. Some were children. Some were older than my father had ever lived to be. All carried melodies in their veins now, some fractured, some full. We met in an old theater with no name. The kind of place people passed without seeing. That night, we called it the Harmonic Conclave. And I told them the truth. They want to seal the song again. Permanently. Someone asked how. I told them what the cantor had shown me, a second ceiling, buried in a ruin inside the chorus. A final failsafe. A harmonic dagger designed to erase the melody's root, cut the memory cord at its base. If triggered, every door would vanish. Every key would disintegrate. The lullaby would become dust. Including us. They fear what we remember, I said. Because remembrance makes people ungovernable. They built the forgetting to make the world manageable. But grief is not a mess to be cleaned. It's the shape of love after time passes. We voted. Unanimous. We would stop the second ceiling. Even if it meant walking deeper than any of us had ever dared. That night, I returned to the chorus and found it, wounded. Cracks ran through the sky. The gates flickered. The melodies distorted, jittered like corrupted vinyl. And in the center of the central chamber stood the archivists. 6 of them. Cloaked in robes that shifted like static. Faces smooth, featureless. Their voices layered like overexposed film. You have trespassed on sacred silence. I stepped forward. I remembered. Remembrance is rot. It ruins the clean symmetry of the sleep. No, I said. It's truth. Then you will be unmade. They raised their hands. But I sang first. Not the lullaby. Not the chorus. The final verse. The one I had written with grief and choice and fire in my blood. It rang through the chorus like a rebellion. And the others joined in. Kaya. The child with the silver tongue. The blind woman who dreamed in colors. The man who painted his dreams across city walls. The air shook. The ground wept. And the archivists stumbled. We didn't destroy them. We recalled them. Each note peeled away the forgetfulness they had worn like armor. Stripped them down to memory. To the sorrow they had buried in themselves centuries ago. One fell to her knees. I had a brother, she whispered. Another clutched his head and screamed. We weren't supposed to feel. And then the tallest of them looked at me. Eyes full of something terrible and tender. We didn't seal the song to kill it. We sealed it because we couldn't bear it anymore. I sang softer now. Not to win. To witness. To tell them. You don't have to do this alone anymore. When the final note echoed into stillness, the chorus shimmered. Not cracked. Not broken. Changed. The sky settled. The gates realigned. A new melody formed, not pure, not dissonant. Layered. Lived in. Human. The archivists faded, not into dust, but into memory. Not gone. Just remembered differently. In the waking world, the doors stopped multiplying. They no longer bled into grocery stores or subways or mirrors. They returned to the places where they mattered. The edges of beds where people grieved. The doorways of old houses filled with ghosts. The dreams of those who had forgotten how to cry. And I kept singing. Not every day. Sometimes silence is sacred too. But the song lives in me now, like marrow. Like legacy. Like truth too old to die. I went to my father's grave again. I sat beside it in the quiet and hummed something wordless. Something real. A child walked by and stopped to listen. She tilted her head. That's a pretty song. I smiled. It used to be a lullaby. She thought for a moment. Can I learn it? I nodded. You already know the first note. They came from me at the edge of dream. Not the forgotten. Not the archivists. Not even the ones I'd helped awaken. They were something else. Older. Softer. Like the space between notes. Like silence that chooses to listen. They didn't speak at first. They resonated. A frequency I felt more than heard, one that settled in my bones and told me, it's time. Time for what? I wasn't sure. But when they opened the door, I walked through. The Hall of Harmonics isn't a place you find. It finds you when your song begins to echo beyond yourself. When your voice is no longer a reflection of your grief, but the world's. It is not a building. Not a cathedral. It is the place where every true song waits to be remembered. I stood on a platform of vibration, floating above a sea of sound. Towers made of choral tones spiraled into a sky of infinite dusk. Bridges of melody crossed empty space, leading to rooms that pulse like hearts. Everywhere I turned, there was music made real. A woman approached me. She wore robes of woven cord, treble clefs looped into her sleeves, rests stitched into her collar. Her hair was wrapped in staves, her eyes the color of memory. You carry the verse, she said. I nodded. I didn't know where it would lead. You've walked farther than most ever will. Her name was Celia, though she said names had become melodic signatures in this place. She led me through the halls, each room stranger and more beautiful than the last. In one, children hummed forgotten lullabies into jars and sealed them with wax. In another, elders traced symphonies into stone, their hands glowing as each note etched itself into living marble. In the deepest chamber, I saw a single chair beneath a shaft of pure sound. Celia turned to me. This is where cantors are made. I shook my head instinctively. I'm not ready. No one ever is, she said. But readiness is not a requirement. Only resonance. I stepped toward the chair. And I heard everything. Every song I had ever sung. Every cry I had ever stifled. Every note my father had whispered to calm the fear inside my chest. Every door I had opened. Every forgotten I had cradled. Every choice. Every cost. Then her voice returned. You have a choice. I knew it before she said it. If I sit, I said, I stay. Celia nodded. You become part of the song. You guide those who come after. You carry memory through melody forever. And the waking world? You will no longer return. Your voice will remain, but your body will pass. I thought of everything I'd left behind. My tiny apartment with peeling wallpaper. The chipped coffee mug my father had once called indestructible. The alley near the record store where I sang the first chorus aloud. Kaya. The girl by my father's grave. The world as it was. The world as it might still become. And I thought of the burden. The constant hum. The dreams I could never escape. The ache in my chest every time someone looked at me with eyes that begged, please, let me forget. I sat. And then stood again. Celia smiled. You've chosen. I have. I hope, she said, you remember why. I returned to the waking world gasping for breath. My apartment was cold. A storm had passed while I was gone. The windows rattled, but I was alive. Here. I didn't give up the song. But I gave up eternity. I chose to be mortal. To live out my days walking between verses. Singing when needed. Resting when I must. Teaching where I could. Failing sometimes. Rising always. Because the world needs witnesses. Not gods. Not ghosts. People. I visit the dream still. But as a guest, not a keeper. The hall still hums. It waits. One day, I might return. When my voice is ready to become the wind that holds others up. But not yet. Not now. Now I live. A child passed me on the street today. He was whistling a song I hadn't taught him. Not exactly. But it was familiar. A cadence I'd woven once into the chorus when I thought no one was listening. He turned, smiled, and kept walking. And I remembered. Some songs don't need to be sung to survive. They just need to be heard. I thought I was done. I thought the choice had been made, the chair left behind, the chorus balanced, the song shared with those who needed it most. I thought I could live. Not quietly. Not painlessly. But fully. And I did. For a while. Until the letter came. It wasn't delivered. It appeared. Folded neatly on my pillow, the paper worn, edges curled from age. No stamp. No envelope. Just my name, written in my own hand. Inside 6 words. I'm sorry. You must go back. There was no signature. But I didn't need one. The handwriting was mine. And not from now. The dreams changed after that. No forests of silence. No golden halls. No lullaby. Just a wasteland. Dust-choked skies. Mountains crumbled like paper. Rivers turned to stone. And no sound. Not even the wind. I walked through the dream for hours, maybe days. My throat ached from singing into silence. My heart burned. Eventually, I found what remained of the chorus. Not broken. Erased. Eradicated. Where once there was sound, now only stillness. Not peace. Not rest. Just nothing. She found me in the center. The future me. Her hair white. Skin etched with time and grief. But her eyes. Still mine. You chose to live, she said. It was the right choice. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't. No voice. No song left in me. She placed her palm over my chest. You still carry it, she whispered. And sound returned. Just a note. A single hum. A pulse in the ribs. But this is what comes next if we do nothing. If we let the world forget again. If we get tired, and the next generation can't hear us sing anymore. She stepped back and opened her hand. A key. Old. Worn. Cracked. The same key my father gave me all those years ago. Only this time, it glowed with a fading light. There's one door left, she said. It leads backward. Not into dreams. Not into melody. Into time. Before you. Before me. Back to when the melody first fell silent. I stared at the key. Then at her. I thought I wasn't allowed back into the hall. You're not. She smiled sadly. But they're gone now. There's no one left to stop you. I held the key in my hand and felt it pulse. And then I woke up. That day, the world was louder. Sirens. News alerts. A memory virus, they were calling it. People forgetting names, places, entire languages. But only selectively. Only things that mattered. Histories. Songs. Grief. Kindness. A forgetting that targeted meaning. The chorus wasn't fading. It was being erased. I didn't hesitate. I followed the dream again. This time, the gate was different. It stood in my childhood bedroom. A place I hadn't seen in decades. The wallpaper still peeling. The smell of engine oil and lavender. The lullaby played softly on a cassette deck. And the door glowed with symbols I no longer recognized. I took a breath. Turned the key. And stepped through. I emerged in a world before the song died. Before the cantor gave her final breath. Before the archivists turned their sorrow into silence. Before the first ceiling. And I saw them. The original dreamers. Children, elders, wanderers, dancers. Singing not to protect, not to preserve, but to become. Their voices held entire worlds. And above them stood a figure I had never met. A girl. Young. Trembling. Holding the first verse ever written. She was afraid. She was about to seal it. To lock it away before the archivists even existed. To prevent pain. To protect innocence. And I knew I was the one meant to stop her. I didn't speak. I sang. Not loudly. Just enough. The lullaby. Simple. Whole. The first song my father ever sang to me. The one no machine could recognize. The one no one else remembered. And the girl turned. She heard it. She dropped the seal. tears in her eyes. And she sang back. Time didn't shatter. It unfolded. 1,000 doors opened at once. The chorus didn't need to be held anymore. It became part of the breath of the world. Not something hidden in dream, but something woven into waking. Not every person would hear it, but every soul would feel it. And when they did, they'd remember. I woke in the present. But it wasn't the same. The world was louder now. Not chaotic. Alive. Street musicians played chords that echoed ancient truths. Children sang lullabies in languages no longer taught. Hospitals pulsed with quiet harmony. Graves hummed with names. Forests sang. Cities whispered. And in every forgotten corner of the world, a door stood ajar. Not threatening. Welcoming. I went to my father's grave one last time. Laid the key down on the soil. And hummed the final verse. A woman passed me. Then stopped. She turned. Is that the song my mother used to sing? I nodded. She sat beside me. And we sang together. Some songs never end. They just find new voices.